Imagine a world stripped of modern conveniences, a world where every day is a battle for survival. Picture the Great Depression, a time when life as we know it was turned on its head, when the buzz of industry fell silent, and the once reliable flow of resources dried up. Jobs were as scarce as a full meal, and the once robust economy crumbled like a house of cards. Yet, in the face of this monumental adversity, people didn't just roll over and accept their fate. No, they rose to the challenge, adapting to their new reality with a resilience that was nothing short of awe-inspiring. They had to be creative, innovative, and resourceful, finding ways to make do with what little they had. This was an era of scarcity, yes, but also an era of ingenuity. Our ancestors turned every scrap of material into something useful, every morsel of food into a meal. They learned to conserve, to reuse, and to repurpose, stretching their resources to the limit and then some. And it wasn't just about physical survival. The Great Depression demanded a mental toughness that's hard to fathom in our world of instant gratification. People had to cope with the constant uncertainty, the fear, the desperation. They had to keep hope alive even when the future looked bleak. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this time was the sense of community. When times were tough, people banded together, sharing what little they had, trading skills and resources. They understood that survival wasn't a solitary endeavor but a group effort. This is the world we're going to explore, a world where survival wasn't just about strength but about ingenuity, community, and the will to endure. We're going to delve into the lessons of the Great Depression, extracting invaluable survival strategies that can prepare us for a possible future without the comforts we take for granted today. In the face of such adversity, survival wasn't just about strength, it was about ingenuity, community, and the will to endure. In the 1930s, nothing was wasted. Every scrap of material and every morsel of food was utilized to its fullest potential. This era of scarcity galvanized a generation to become masters of resource conservation. Clothes were patched up, not thrown out. Leftovers, they were tomorrow's meals. And food scraps, they were composted to enrich the soil for the next harvest. The Great Depression taught people to see the value in all resources. An old, worn-out coat may have been transformed into a warm quilt. A broken tool was not discarded but mended, its life extended. A wilting vegetable wasn't destined for the trash but became seeds for the next planting. The essence of this mastery over resource conservation was a profound respect for the value of every item. A lesson that we can take to heart in our journey to prepare for an uncertain future. Imagine a world where resourcefulness is not just an admirable trait, but a necessity for survival. A world where every item in your possession has a purpose and nothing is deemed useless. In such a world, an old bicycle could be repurposed into a manual grain grinder. A torn tarp could be patched up and used as a shelter. An empty can could become a makeshift cooking pot. The key here is to cultivate an eye for seeing the potential in what others might consider waste. It's about thinking outside the box and creatively repurposing what you have at hand. This mindset of waste not, want not is a powerful tool in the survivalist's arsenal. It's not just about sustainability, it's about survival. It's about making every resource stretch as far as it possibly can. In a world where we may have to rely solely on our wits and resources, the lessons from the Great Depression are more relevant than ever. So let's take a page from our history and remember, when resources are scarce, every bit counts. In a world without waste, every resource counts. Remember, it's about making the most with what you have. When grocery stores are no longer an option, you turn to your backyard. During the Great Depression, home gardens were not just a source of fresh produce, but a beacon of hope and a lifeline for survival. People grew a variety of fruits, vegetables, and herbs, turning every inch of their backyards into thriving, life-sustaining ecosystems. But growing food was just the first step. The real magic happened when these hardworking folks preserved their harvest for the lean winter months. They employed age-old techniques like canning, drying, smoking, and fermenting to extend the shelf life of their produce. Imagine rows upon rows of canned tomatoes, pickles and jams, dried fruits and vegetables, and smoked meats, all ready to nourish a family through the harshest of times. Now, let's bring this picture into the present day. In a world where societal collapse is a possibility, these old-school methods might just be the key to our survival. Today, we call this practice homesteading, and it's not just for those living in rural areas. Urban dwellers can also convert their balconies or rooftops into mini food forests. And what about preserving these homegrown treasures? Well, those Depression-era techniques haven't changed much. Canning is still a reliable way to store fruits and vegetables. Smoking and curing can help preserve meats. And fermentation? It's an art that's making a comeback, offering not just preservation but also a boost to our gut health, thanks to beneficial bacteria. Just think about it. With these skills, you can ensure a year-round supply of food, independent of any external factors. You're not just growing vegetables or preserving fruits, you're sowing seeds of resilience and, in turn, harvesting security and self-reliance. But remember, these practices aren't just about survival. They're also about reconnecting with the earth, understanding the rhythms of nature, and taking control of our food security. Food is life. And in a world without supermarkets, knowing how to grow and preserve your own food isn't just a skill, it's a lifeline. During the Great Depression, communities were the lifelines that held society together. In the face of adversity, people rallied together, pooling their resources and sharing essential skills. A neighbor's farm, a relative's sewing prowess, or a friend's knack for fixing things. These were the treasures that kept life going. In this era, the concept of mine was replaced by ours. This spirit of cooperation wasn't just about charity, it was a survival strategy. Think of it as the original social network where the currency was trust and the dividends were shared survival. And then there was bartering. Money was scarce, but goods and services weren't. A chicken for a bag of flour, a day's labor for a pair of shoes. This was the marketplace of the Great Depression. In a world without money, your network is your wealth. Community isn't just about survival, it's about thriving together. When the world crumbled, craftsmanship and DIY skills weren't hobbies, they were survival tools. Picture a world without factories, without mass production. A world where every item, every tool, every piece of clothing was handcrafted. That was the reality of the Great Depression. With resources scarce, and money even scarcer, the ability to repair, create, and maintain essential items became a matter of survival. People of the 1930s didn't have the luxury of throwing away a worn-out pair of shoes or a broken tool. Instead, they mended, they patched, they fixed. They transformed old into new, waste into resource, discarded into indispensable. They made do and mended, a mantra that echoed through the hardship of those years. Nothing was disposable, everything had value, and the ability to see that value, to bring it out, to use it, was a skill that kept people alive. Now let's bring that mindset into the present day. For modern survivalists, these DIY skills are just as vital. In a world where societal collapse is a looming possibility, reliance on manufactured goods is a gamble, a bet against an uncertain future. Instead, the ability to create and repair becomes invaluable once more. Can you mend a tear in your clothing? Can you sharpen a blade? Can you build a shelter from scratch? These are the skills that could mean the difference between surviving and thriving in a post-collapse world. Skills that were once commonplace but have now been largely lost to the convenience of the modern age. But they can be reclaimed. They must be reclaimed. For the prepper, these skills are not just a nod to the past but a lifeline to the future. They are the tools that will allow us to navigate a world where the conveniences we take for granted have disappeared. In a world without factories, your hands are your most valuable tools. Remember, if you can't buy it, you'll need to build it. So let's roll up our sleeves and get to work, because the art of survival is in our hands. In the Great Depression, people had to be financially smart to survive. They faced a world where every penny counted. It wasn't about accumulating wealth, but about managing scarcity. Debt was avoided like the plague, and spending was prioritized for essentials only. It was a time when the practical value of things outweighed their monetary value. Now let's bring this financial ingenuity to our times. Imagine a world where banks are a thing of the past. In such a world, your wealth is not measured in dollars, but in practical assets. Tools that can fix things, seeds that can grow food, and solar panels that can generate power. These are the investments that matter. The key is to think in terms of utility, not luxury. In a world without banks, your wealth is what you can use, not what you can spend. Remember, it's not about how much money you have, it's about how you use it. When medical services were scarce, people turned to nature for healing. During the Great Depression, healthcare was not a given. People had to rely on their knowledge of natural remedies and basic medical practices to treat illnesses and injuries. Herbs, roots, and plants were not just food, they were also medicine. From willow bark for pain relief to honey for wound healing, nature provided an abundance of resources for those who knew where to look. This reliance on natural medicine was not just a necessity, but it also fostered a deep understanding and respect for the healing power of nature. And it's a lesson that's just as relevant today. As modern preppers, it's crucial to revive these practices. Learning about herbal remedies, knowing how to treat basic wounds, and understanding how to use nature as your pharmacy are essential skills for survival when modern healthcare systems fail. In a world without doctors, your health is in your hands. Remember, nature provides if you know where to look. During the Great Depression, minimalism wasn't a choice, it was a necessity. Picture a time when excess was not an option, and every item owned had a purpose. People had to make do with what they had, and this simplicity and efficiency was key to their survival. They valued what they owned and used it to its fullest potential. Fast forward to today, and this minimalist mindset is more relevant than ever for survivalists. In a world where the conveniences of modern life may not be available, the principle of less is more becomes paramount. It's about focusing on the essentials, eliminating excess, and making the most of what you have. This isn't about deprivation, but about efficiency, about finding joy and satisfaction in simplicity. It's about understanding that the true essence of survival isn't about how much you have, but how well you use what you have. In a world without excess, less is more. Remember, it's not about what you have, it's about what you need. The Great Depression tested more than just physical strength, it tested the strength of the human spirit. Imagine, if you will, a world where the challenges seem relentless, where each day brings new tests and trials. This was the world of the 1930s, a time of great economic hardship where the will to survive was as vital as the air we breathe. The people of the Great Depression didn't just wake up with an unbreakable spirit, they cultivated it, they nurtured it. Day by day they built their mental fortitude, their resilience, their adaptability. They were not born with these traits, rather, they were forged in the crucible of hardship. Let's take a leaf out of their book and learn to cultivate our own mental fortitude. It's not something that happens overnight, but with practice and patience, we can train our minds to be our strongest allies in times of adversity. Start by accepting uncertainty. In a world where societal structures have collapsed, nothing is guaranteed. Accepting this fact lessens the shock of sudden changes and allows you to adapt more quickly. Next, practice resilience. Resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, to bounce back after a setback. It's about keeping your head up when the going gets tough and marching on, regardless of the obstacles in your path. Lastly, cultivate adaptability. It's the ability to adjust to new conditions, to change your plan when necessary. In a survival scenario, being rigid and inflexible can be fatal. Being adaptable, however, can mean the difference between life and death. Remember, your mind is a powerful tool. It can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. It's up to you to decide which one it will be. Building mental fortitude is not about denying the challenges we face. It's about acknowledging them, facing them head on, and finding a way to keep going despite them. It's about perseverance, about endurance. In a world without certainty, your mind is your greatest weapon. Remember, it's not about surviving, it's about enduring. The lessons of the past can equip us for the challenges of the future. This journey through the Great Depression has shown us the resilience and resourcefulness of our ancestors. Their mastery of resource conservation, self-sustaining food production, and community bartering provided them with the tools they needed to survive. They reclaimed the art of DIY skills and craftsmanship, managed financial scarcity with ingenuity, and embraced the power of natural medicine. Their minimalist lifestyle wasn't a choice but a necessity. And above all, they cultivated mental fortitude, an attribute critical in facing the relentless challenges of a world without modern conveniences. These lessons from the past can serve as a blueprint for modern preppers, equipping us for a scenario where we must rely solely on our skills and community. We learn from the past to prepare for the future, and in the face of uncertainty, we stand ready. So share your insights, add your strategies, and join us as we prepare for tomorrow today.